Hands full, heart heavy, still they pile it on. Build a bridge for them, now they stomping on the lawn. Every favor turns to labor, clocked in overtime. But when I need a hand, they vanish, thin as fishing line. I gave them rope, they wanna lasso the moon. Fed them dinner, now they chewing on my silver spoon. I can't say no, they flip, acting all brand new. How about you give back just a little? Would that be too soon? Give and give till the well runs dry. Carried away while they pass me by. Ain't no hero, just a man in the dirt. But I'm bleeding out and they don't see the hurt. You ever think the guy holding it all needs a hand to catch him when he falls? Yeah, pocket lint, but they still got their hands out. They sip champagne, I'm bailing the damn drought. Broke my back for the ones who call me brother, now they whisper behind me, trading lies undercover. My note hit them harder than my yes ever did. Like they forgot who fed them when the pantry was hid. Turn the tables now, they flip the whole thing. Guess loyalty's a language only I can sing. I'm the ladder they climb, the net when they fall. But when I need a step, they're nowhere at all. It wasn't enough to take the shirt off my back. You wanted my shadow, wanted the soul that you lack. I taught you to walk, now you're trying to run my race. Painting your picture right over my face. Gave you the blueprint, you tried to claim the house, but a lion's roar don't fit in the mouth of a mouse. You didn't want a handle, you wanted my out. But you can't reap a harvest you ain't ever sown. I look at the photos from before you arrived. The colors were brighter, I was more than alive. The garden was green and the water was clear. Before I let vultures get into my ear. Now the static is gone and the view is so sweet. I'm back on my rhythm, back on my feet. Funny how fast the heavy clouds disappear when you realize the lanes are no longer it. Yeah, I'll take the blame for being so kind, leaving the door open for the hollow and blind. But it's on you for failing to see the weight of the man that I chose to be. You missed the realest one you'll ever meet. Now you're just a ghost on a one-way street.
Hey, what's up, Joe? Yeah, it was a late one tonight, man. I fell asleep early. I woke up and nobody's awake. Nobody's online. I'm like, fuck it. So, I'm just basically play some random ass videos. Chilling like a Bill and Gary says. That's right. Gary Cornett. What's good, bro? Cornette. Reminds me of a wrestler. No? No, I'll take it back. He was not a wrestler. He was a manager. What was his name? Something Cornette. Jim Cornette. That was it. Well, anyway. We won't play this. Mud Mogs. Cool offs, I'm sorry. Not just pick somebody's random man. Probably not the best one. I did watch it. Yes, I did. On Wild Barker, yes. I said there was something about Bob Barker that reminded me of Rory. That's on W. I'll play a song while I look.
You play the martyr, you play the saint, with a polished heart and a coat of paint. You look me in the eye, swore you'd never be the very thing that's now staring back at me. A walking contradiction in a designer skin. Where do the stories end and the truth begin? You're a masterpiece of digital deception, but I'm the one who's got the clear perception. Tick tock, the clock is running out on the act. Every word you spoke was a breach of contract. You're building a kingdom on a foundation of sand, while I'm the only one left with the winning hand. You're a liar, you're a fake. Every promise was a soul you take. You're everything you said you'd never be. A ghost in the mirror that I finally see. Go ahead and keep on capping. Wait for the ghost to start the attacking. But I'm standing tall, I'm standing like a man, while you're just a shadow with a hollow plan. While you're just a shadow with a hollow plan. Yeah, yeah, it's funny how the table starts to turn when the bridges that you built finally start to burn. You're still boasting, living for the lies, while I'm the one surviving all the heavy stripes. You said you were real, you said you were deep, but you're just a wolf in the skin of a sheep. You're capping so hard that you're losing your breath, while I'm the one dancing on the social death. Tick tock, the clock is running out on the act. Every word you spoke was a breach of contract. You're building a kingdom on a foundation of sand, while I'm the only one left with the winning hand. You're a liar, you're a fake. Every promise was a soul you take. You're everything you said you'd never be. A ghost in the mirror that I finally see. Go ahead and keep on capping. Wait for the ghost to start the attacking. But I'm standing tall, I'm standing like a man, while you're just a shadow with a hollow plan. I see the truth, I see the rot. You think you're a king? You're not! I am who I am. I stand like a man. And here's the kicker, the part you won't believe. I've got the receipts tucked under my sleeve, but I won't leak them, I won't speak them. I'll keep your secrets buried deep down in the ground, because you're not even worth the sound.
All right. I found this. It's Joe Rogan. They're talking about something that scared him in the Grand Canyon. Find out what he's talking about. Hey, I dropped a link if anybody wants to hang out, chill. I ain't doing shit though, guys. For real. Bring up a topic we'll talk about. Fuck it, who cares, right?
Like, there's areas of the Grand Canyon you cannot explore.
You cannot go. You cannot fly over.
Right.
And you can't fly under the rim. Yet when you go to those bad places, suddenly a white plane flies over under the rim, black helicopters show up. I showed on my episode. I show the black helicopters showing up. Like, they do show.
Yeah. Like, they are protecting something. It's not as simple as this is a dangerous area, because you can go to any dangerous area.
You go just to the normal tourist area. It's like, be careful. People fall. 2 people a year fall.
Yeah. Someone fell recently.
They did?
Yeah. An influencer. Of course. Taking a selfie. But the Grand Canyon, there's been these crazy stories of people finding these like these caverns with like Egyptian artwork and hieroglyphics and these stories of artifacts that have been removed from there.
So the story is, it shows up, I believe, in like the Phoenix Gazette, 1903 or so, and the explorer is G.E. Kincaid, and he's going down. He's looking for gold deposits or whatever. This is just before Teddy Roosevelt made the Grand Canyon a preserve. He was a naturalist, so he finds these steps that are clearly man-made. He follows the steps up, and there's a cave, and he goes in there, and he describes hieroglyphics that look Egyptian but are not quite. He finds a statue that he describes as like Buddha-like, not Egyptian, not human, but sort of like Buddha, and all these weapons, shields, gold, all sorts of stuff. He keeps going. He finds a deserted city in the caves, and all these tunnels and caverns go everywhere, and he's trying to map everything. He comes out, and he goes back to town, and he gathers together a group that we're going to go find the stuff again. And people are excited about it. And a couple of weeks go by, and everyone's gathered to go on the expedition. He never shows. The expedition goes nowhere, and that's really the last we've heard of it.
Really? And is there any photographs or anything? No.
There never is of this stuff.
Right. Just descriptions.
Just a great story.
Well, the great part of the story is the fact that you actually can't go there. And the idea that there's an area where the military is protecting people from being foolish, that doesn't make any sense.
Nobody asks why.
Right.
Nobody asks why. It really bothers me about that story and all of these, whether it's disclosure or whatever. I don't hear anyone asking why. Well, they won't let us. Well, who's they? Right. Someone's in charge of stuff that's not the president,
right,
or Congress. So who is it? So, is it possible there's some sort of a government installation down there somewhere? It's all going to be woo-woo conspiracy stuff, or it's real, or G.E. Kincaid found something and someone got to him.
But if G.E. Kincaid found something, why would they want to hide some ancient civilization discovery, particularly in the early 1900s?
It might change history.
Like, why? For what reason?
I don't know why Graham Hancock is marginalized now.
Right, but that wouldn't you think there's like less of a grip on that stuff in the 1900s and early 1900s?
I would think so.
Yeah.
So my guess would be treasure and money. That would be my guess. It shows up in the paper. The government goes down there, like, there's a lot of stuff down here. Let's grab it, send it to the Smithsonian, who keeps 99% of the stuff under wraps. They have, a billion items that nobody can see, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, but what the fuck? Which I would love to know the official reason. See if you can Google. Is there an official reason why you're not allowed to go to certain areas of the Grand Canyon?
They use a VPN there, brother.
The story, I was looking at an article about the original article, and it says that the 2 guys mentioned might not have even existed.
Right.
There's no evidence of them.
G.E. Kincaid?
And another guy named S.A. Jordan.
Oh, so it might be just a story that someone printed, some horseshit.
Yeah, when I was looking into one of these things before, I found something explaining that back in the early 1900s, when newspapers were a really popular thing to read. I don't know if it was like a game or if there was actual prizes people would play or like amongst themselves to try to get fake stories printed. If you could get the craziest story printed, you win like $500 or
I might be wrong, but I think Jordan was connected to the Smithsonian, at least according to the story.
I pulled this from the Smithsonian Debunk, which, I mean, obviously they would if this is the way we're going to go with it, but them debunking this, and they gave 2 links, one to the original 1909 article and one to a 2008 update, and that's where I was pulling that from.
I don't trust the Smithsonian. They're exempt from all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, like there's a law passed not too long ago that if you have Native American artifacts that are important to that culture, especially burial artifacts, they must be returned. Unless you're the Smithsonian, then
they're allowed to hold on to
then you can make a case that you don't have to give it back.
How do they have so much power?
It's a government agency.
Smithsonian is a government. Oh, I didn't even know. I thought it was a private agency. So there's no official story as to why this area of the Grand Canyon is off limits.
For your safety.
The forbidden zone, they call it.
Yeah, that's all I can find.
That's fucking
For
weird.
your safety.
That's fucking weird. That this story comes from the very area that's forbidden. That's fucking weird.
I think.
What are the odds?
I don't believe in coincidences. So a lot of these stories come from places you just can't go.
Has anybody tried to hike in?
All the time. Or raft in.
Really? Yeah, did they get busted?
And busted, yeah, and arrested.
Right?
Really?
Mm-hmm. What? Why
you could find online. I wish I knew the names of a team that went up there. That's who found the black helicopters, and I used them in the video, and I credit them. So you can find their videos. They're up there for an hour and a half, trying to find stuff. And what they found up in that forbidden zone is anchored into the ground a giant hook,
right,
or like a loop.
Yeah.
Like what would you use that for? And that would be to rappel down. That's the only reason that would be there. There's no explanation for what is this. They also found artifacts from that era, from the early 1900s, artifacts that people were there. So it's possible that they rappelled that, like they might have been standing right above that entrance. And there are reverse angles of that rock face that look a little weird. It could be pareidolia, but
what's pareidolia?
Pareidolia is the mind's ability to see objects in random noise. You know, it's something we evolved to, to see predators in the forest. That's why if you see a cloud that looks like an Abraham Lincoln,
right,
it's not Abraham Lincoln. It's pareidolia. But debunkers will always fall on pareidolia. Yeah. So like the real believers, they hate that word.
God, that would be. Imagine everything would have to be rewritten.
All right, that's fine.
If they found.
Let's play another song while we look for something different.
Yeah, go. Granny, it's your bedtime. We gon' party like it's story time. We gon' sip juice like it's nap time. And you know we don't care if it's past your bedtime. You can find me in the crib, bottle full of bibs. Look, mom, the one that's really doing big. I'm in the nursery rhymes. If you into getting rich, so come give me a hug. If you into getting hitched, what? You can find me in the yard, acting like I'm hard. Mary got that little lamb, she's dancing for the God. I'm into Mother Goose, if you into making noise, so come get with the crew. We the Mother Goose boys. Now Humpty sat on the wall, feeling quite fly. Had a pint of the goose, a twinkle in his eye. He had a big fall, yeah, he hit the concrete. Now all the king's horses want a piece of that meat. And Jack went up the hill, yeah, he's chasing after Jill. But Jill came down with a headache and a pill. The water wasn't clean, it was bubbly and pink. They weren't looking for a well, they were looking for a drink, yeah. You can find me in the crib, bottle full of bibs. Look, mom, the one that's really doing big. I'm in the nursery rhymes. If you into getting rich, so come give me a hug. If you into getting. Now little Bo Peep, she lost all her sheep, found them in the VIP, and they weren't even sleep. They were popping off the wall, doing shots by the bar, while the three blind mites were valeting the car. And Mary had a lamb, his fleece was white as snow, but everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to woe. It followed her to school, which was against the rule. Now the teacher's in the back, acting like a fool. Hey, 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 we don't need no gold, we just need the porridge cold. Papa Bear is coming back, yeah, he's getting bold. Goldilocks is in the bed, looking for a thrill. If the feds don't get us, then the big bad wolf will. You can find me in the crib, bottle full of bibs. Look, mom, the one that's really doing big. I'm in the nursery rhymes. If you into getting rich, so come give me a hug. If you into getting hitched, you can find me in the crib, bottle full of bibs. Mom, the one that's really doing big.
nursery rhymes if you into getting rich. So come give me a hug if you into getting hits. Yeah, Mother Goose. Unit. I mean, unit. Granny. We out. Don't forget to brush your teeth, man. It's bedtime.
All right, let's see. We have 10 worst places to live in Illinois.
Why I make such negative content? Why do I only show the worst places? In response, I like to say, why do you watch it? Just kidding, people. Illinois's got a lot of great places to live. Illinois has also got a lot of bad places to live. Guess what we're going to focus on in this video? These are places where you do not want to live, and if you do live here, you probably want to get out. The selection for the cities off of this video is based off of no data, no factual evidence whatsoever, just being judgmental. Just kidding. There's reasons. As we go along, I'll do my best to explain.
Good old Springfield.
Number 10 is Springfield.
Been there, done that.
What is it with places named Springfield these days? Springfield, Illinois, Springfield, Ohio, Springfield, Massachusetts, Springfield, Missouri. They're all struggling with their reputations, almost like the name itself comes with a built-in curse. Honest Abe wouldn't be so happy to see what Springfield has become.
Nope.
You know, the government buildings in downtown look all shiny and buttoned up, but the neighborhoods right outside of it, not so much. The economy here has never figured out how to diversify away from government employment, so the city basically lives off of state politics. These days, Illinois' capital city is known for its high crime rates more than anything else. Everyone loves to rip on Chicago and the high crime rates there, but if Chicago is so bad, then Springfield must be the absolute worst, because this town has nearly twice the crime rate of Chicago. Well, good news for you if you're from Springfield, because Springfield isn't the worst. It's just the 10th worst in Illinois. Here are the crime rates for Chicago compared to those of Springfield. As you can see, crime is a problem here, with it being nearly 3 times higher than the national average. It's not just crime, though. One of the telltale signs of a city not being a great place to live is population decline. In 2010, Springfield hit a peak population of 116,000. Today, that number is down to 112,000. I know that's not the sharpest decline, but it's a decline of around 2% nonetheless. And if the city doesn't solve its crime problem at the least, we can all assume that going forward, the population will continue to drop.
That's right, smoke it up.
Speaking of dropping population numbers, the next city on this list knows quite a bit about that.
Rock Island.
Number 9 is Rock Island.
Been there, done that.
More like Rock Bottom.
Bruh.
Rock Island is a part of the Quad Cities. What up, Quad Cities? And it's definitely the most depressing city in the region. It's sad because when you drive through and see the Broadway Historic District, it makes you want to root for the city to make a real comeback. Unfortunately, I don't think it will anytime soon. Rock Island has a history of industrial manufacturing, especially in the farm equipment sector. The Rock Island Armory, the Rock Island Arsenal, the first railroad bridge over the Mississippi, the history goes on and on. These days, when you drive through Rock Island, you're supporting the mental health field because you're going to want to talk to someone after seeing what most of this city looks like. Downtown Rock Island is empty, while the downtowns elsewhere in the Quad Cities are thriving. The population has dropped from 52,000 in 1960 to 36,000 today. The city's economy relies on a casino to save it from itself. And whenever that happens, you know that things just aren't good. There used to be an extremely high crime problem here, but that's mellowed out quite a bit at least. Still, it's hard to count on a comeback happening for Rock Island when it's a part of a medium-sized metro area that it shares with another state, when that other state has much lower property taxes and not near as many business regulations. Think about it. Why would you pay just shy of $4,000 per year in property taxes on a house that's listed for $190,000 in Rock Island when you can go across the river in Davenport and pay more than $1,000 less per year on property taxes in a house of equal value? It's the same thing for small businesses, but it's even more extreme. They'll pay less in taxes in Iowa than they will in Illinois. And that's why I have strong doubts about Rock Island making a comeback. Businesses can be way more profitable in Iowa. That being said, cities geographically on the edges of the state will be a common thing going forward on this list. I wonder why. Number 8 is Kankakee.
Been there, my friend.
Oh yes, Kankakee, Illinois. Another place that I've made a video on. And actually, to avoid saying it each and every time, I've made a video on every stinking city on this list. So there you go. We're saving some time today. If you haven't heard of it, Kankakee is about an hour drive south of Chicago, unless you hit rush hour on the Dan Ryan. Like many Illinois cities that have declined, Kankakee relied on the manufacturing industry during its heyday. Today, it relies on a mix of small businesses, hospitals, and the internal Illinois tradition of, yeah, we'll figure it out eventually. Problem is, I don't think they will, because the city is going to have to be aggressive in making some changes if that's going to happen. And I don't think they will. People continue to leave this city at a rapid pace. The place was home to 31,000 back in 1990, but today it's down to 23,000, a loss of about 7,000 people, or a quarter of the population. Now, there's plenty of areas right outside of Kankakee that are doing fine. You know, Bradley, Bourbonnais, some other small towns that are further away and are out in the country a little bit. But overall, Kankakee County has been losing population. Most likely, it's because people are moving to the lesser taxed state of Indiana right next door. Anyway, Kankakee has also struggled from high crime over the years. These days, the crime has become more so under control, but high crime rates are a big part of the reason as to why the city has declined. The schools aren't that great here either, which further pushes young families away to other communities. One thing that disappoints me about Kankakee is that the downtown is pretty lackluster, and I don't feel like it would take much effort to make the downtown look more appealing. It's something that every city should focus on. The places that are thriving nowadays have figured it out. The places on this list, not so much. Well, now, it's time for a word from this video's sponsor.
Visit Putnam County. We're the most special county in all of the Illinois Valley. Starved Rock and Buffalo State Parks, forget about it. Here in Putnam County, we have pumpkins, the coal mining legacy, and other places to jack around and visit. So come on and swing on by to Putnam County for a visit. Do it now.
Peoria.
Number 7 is Peoria.
Ding!
Peoria has one of the highest crime rates in Illinois. The violent crime rate is over 1,200 for every 100,000 residents, while the property crime rate is over 3,800 for every 100,000 residents. Aside from the high crime rates, the schools aren't the best, which further pushes families to live in one of the other surrounding cities. Economically, it doesn't help that Caterpillar moved its headquarters out of state. Guess where?
Ding!
That's right. Peoria was the location for Caterpillar's headquarters for around 90 years. Until it wasn't. The company still has a large presence in the area, but economically, there's not much else here. The city peaked in population back in 1970 at just shy of 127,000. But with the decline of manufacturing jobs and the rise in crime, people moved out. Today, the population is down to 111,000, which is a loss of 16,000 people. That's not the craziest decline that we've seen from cities the size of Peoria, but it's a decline nonetheless.
Peoria. I used to walk all over that town. Hang out by the river all the time.
Number 6 is Rockford.
Hell yeah, it is.
Rockford probably has the worst reputation for an Illinois city on this list so far. The crime rates are undeniably among the worst in the nation for a city of its size. Basically, you have a 1 out of 93 chance of being a victim of a violent crime here. Not good. So if you're looking for a new business idea, try building a boxing gym here. Or even better, start offering self-defense classes, but make sure to do it virtually and operate out of a neighboring state so that way you're not stuck paying Illinois taxes. Then just target Rockford residents with online ads. Look, you'll be rich in no time. If you do that, though, just make sure to mention that you heard it here first on the Chris Hardin YouTube channel.
Illinois.
Like many other cities on this list, Rockford used to be an industrial giant. Not anymore.
Nope.
Thousands of manufacturing jobs have disappeared, and the city had no backup plan for its economy. The only sector of the economy that's thriving in Rockford these days, really, is healthcare. Most of the schools are bad, 22% of the residents live in poverty, and the west side looks like it gave up sometime around the Clinton administration. Entire neighborhoods are dotted with boarded-up homes, empty lots, and buildings that look frozen in time. Businesses have fled, residents have left, and the few people still living there are stuck with the fallout. The west side, however, is a stark contrast to the east side, which would have you questioning why Rockford is on this list.
Decatur.
Number 5 is Decatur.
Is that even a real place?
Decatur is about 2 hours northeast of St. Louis and about a half hour east of Springfield. Decatur has historically been reliant on manufacturing, particularly in the agricultural sector, so much so that the place is nicknamed as the Soy City.
What up, Soy City?
To make matters worse, back in 2014, ADM moved their headquarters from here to Chicago. They still have some presence in town, it's just not near as big as it used to be. If you want to know what economic decline looks like in corn and soybean form, look no further. The population peaked in 1980 at just shy of 94,000. Today, that number is below 70,000. Aside from job losses with manufacturing, over the years, Decatur has struggled with well above average crime rates and high poverty rates. It doesn't help that the schools perform terribly with super low graduation rates, and really, there's not much of a reason for people to want to move here. If that wasn't enough, Decatur is known for being one of the smelliest cities in all of Illinois.
Gross!
Thanks to the large ADM plant that's still around. And trust me, it smells bad. Plus, the downtown is rather lethargic and it just feels like it's waiting for a big comeback to happen. It probably won't though anytime soon. Really quick, if you like this type of video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. If you don't, that's cool. I mean, effort isn't for everyone, right? Some cities on this list proved that.
Hey, I got something to tell you. This next one might come as a shock.
Number 4 is Danville.
Hell yeah!
It's one of those cities where you can feel the economic decline the moment that you enter town. The city originally grew as a coal mining hub before transitioning into a manufacturing hub, before transitioning into a not much of anything hub. Recently, the city demolished their tallest building because it had been abandoned and neglected for so long that chunks of the building material were falling onto the street below, which was one of the city's main thoroughfares. They had to block off a lane for over a year because of it. Danville has had quite a few factories close over the years, General Motors being among the largest and Quaker Oats being among one of the most recent. The population hit its peak in 1970 at 42,000, but today, that number is below 29,000. The schools aren't the greatest, with Danville High School sporting a graduation rate of only 62%. The crime rates are sky high, which has long been a problem here, and it's hard to see things changing here anytime soon. The mayor and his staff, however, are doing what they can. They're trying to change not only the reputation, but also the quality of life for their city. And for more on that, you can watch this video here. However, something that you might not expect about Danville is that it's the hometown for both Dick Van Dyke and Gene Hackman. So, at least there's that.
Yeah, there's that. Metro East.
Number 3 is Metro East.
Yikes.
Not just one city, and of course not all of them, but quite a few of them. The most notorious of the bunch is East St. Louis. Others that you probably haven't heard of includes Cahokia Heights, State Park Place, Washington Park, Madison, Granite City, and Alton, along with a few others.
Granite City.
Cahokia Heights was actually formed pretty recently off of the merging of 3 different communities, Centerville, Cahokia, and Allerton. Since all 3 cities were facing severe population decline, which diminished the tax base, they all thought that it would be a good idea to merge together to form one larger city. The problem is, the population decline continues. It continues, because since the merging in 2021, the population has gone from 17,894 to 16,852, a loss of just over 1,000 people, good for a 6% decrease in a span of only 5 years. Not good. On the other hand, East St. Louis has lost 79% of its peak population. Say no more. Granite City and Madison are both doing their best to become the next East St. Louis. Further north, Alton is a city that likes to lean on its storied history, but the population today is down to 25,000, nearly 20,000 less people from its 1960 peak of 43,000. Look, most of Metro East is economically depressed. Of course, not all of Metro East is bad. Edwardsville is a fine place to live. Other places just south of it, like Troy, Maryville, Collinsville, Fairview Heights, and O'Fallon, are decent. Overall, though, the Metro East region, which is made up of Madison and St. Clair counties, has continued to show population decline over the years, as the Missouri side of the St. Louis area continues to be better economic choices for both businesses and people to relocate to. Let me say this. If you think I'm cheating because I'm grouping a bunch of cities into one for this list, well, this list would be made up of only cities from Metro East and from the next group of cities that I'm about to show you. Number 2 is the South Chicago suburbs.
Loser.
Not just one of them, and not all of them, but several. I'm talking about Ford Heights, Sauk Village, Chicago Heights, Harvey, Dalton, Riverdale, Dixmoor, Robbins. The list goes on and on. Ford Heights is definitely the worst of the bunch. Dominated by Section 8 housing, the city was known for its drug deals and violence back in the day. Not much has changed today either, other than the fact that over half of the Section 8 housing in the city is now abandoned. Anytime that Ford Heights makes the news, it's either for some sort of violent crime or it's some sort of corruption, like the mayor stealing money from the city. Ford Heights isn't the only crime-ridden, corrupt suburb down here. Both Harvey and Chicago Heights have crime rates that are sky high. Drive around either suburb and you'll find hundreds of blighted properties. There's also Dalton.
What up, Tiffany Henyard?
That made massive headlines in 2024 when the community went from having a $5.6 million budget surplus at the beginning of her tenure to having a $3.5 million deficit at the end. That's like a $9 million swing. Really, the poverty rates, the crime rates, and the amount of corruption that has gone on collectively in the South Chicago suburbs is absurd. And it's not like anything else that I've seen among a collection of cities anywhere else in the country. I could go on and on about it. There are some places in this cluster of suburbs like Blue Island, Olympia Fields, Lansing, or Matson that aren't that bad. Although Matson used to have a large retail district with a shopping mall and big box stores all around. And now that part of town is like a ghost town. All right, so if the South Chicago suburbs are so bad, what could possibly be worse?
Yeah, good old Cairo.
Number 1 is Cairo.
I'm number 1.
Cairo, however you want to say it. Poor Cairo can never catch a break. I went here when I first started this YouTube channel about 6 years ago now, and it's only gotten worse since then. The population is down to below 1,500 now. It was as high as 15,000 back in 1920. Cairo is at the confluence of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. It's also Illinois' southernmost point. You can't travel anywhere in Illinois and be further away from Chicago. You might as well be in Kentucky. Cairo thrived as a shipping port early on, and when railroads came through, it only helped Cairo grow. Race riots, however, in the 1960s really tore apart the city, and that's when the mass exodus began. It hasn't recovered since. There is no economy all the way down here whatsoever. That's right, no economic momentum. Severe floods over the years have made farmers abandon their land. There's literally nowhere for people to work outside of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, which is a half hour to the west. It's not just Cairo down here either. It's all of Alexander and Pulaski counties. The nearby cities of Mounds and Mound City have seen similar population declines, although neither of those two cities were ever the size of Cairo. At least with the South Chicago suburbs, there's other amenities in nearby cities, and there's other jobs in nearby cities to lean on. Same with the cities in Metro East. Cairo? Not so much. And you better get used to buying your groceries at gas stations and dollar stores. Cairo and the surrounding area really is the worst place that you could live in Illinois. No economy, isolation, no amenities, no jobs, poor infrastructure, no support from the state, and quite literally, no wealth to speak of whatsoever anywhere you look.
Blackburn,
Honorable mentions for this list includes a string of cities, West Frankfort, Benton, and Johnston City, to the north of Kira. Those are some places that could also use a real lift. Well, there you have it, the top 10 worst places in Illinois. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down in the comments. We all know that a list like this is subjective in nature. The worst.
Well, then. Hey, look here. Oh, Shelby. Carroll Shelby. The Lost Interview. Ford versus Ferrari. I remember when that came out, man. I was like, man, I want to watch that, man. It was a good one, too. Whoa. That's weird. Might as well read that out loud. Castro Street Cam, 2 Live Street. Huh. That was the 10 worst. We got the 10 most dangerous places in Illinois. Man, it seems lame to me. Let's check out these Illinois ancient mysteries. Yeah, it ain't very long though. How is it? Oh, yeah, it is. It just has to be started over. What? Guys, I'm doing absolutely nothing. I can't sleep. I fucking fell asleep early and now I'm wide awake early. So here I am. If y'all got something you want to pull up, we'll pull up anything. I don't give a fuck. I mean, let's not be extreme, but. Anyway, let's see what these fuckers got to say here.
Illinois holds more than prairie towns and farmland. It hides echoes of lost civilizations, buried treasure, and unexplained relics. From ancient stone forts and mysterious carvings to caves rumored to conceal outlaw gold, the state's landscape is layered with stories that blur the line between history and legend. These are the ancient mysteries of Illinois. The Burroughs Cave Mystery. In the quiet farmland of southern Illinois, near the town of Olney, there's a story that's been whispered among historians, skeptics, and treasure hunters for nearly 40 years. It begins with a man named Russell E. Burroughs, who claimed that one day in 1982, while hiking through the bluffs, he stumbled upon a narrow opening in the rock. What he found inside, he said, was something that could rewrite history. A hidden cave filled with hundreds of carved stones,
I've been looking for that hidden
golden
cave
artifacts,
since I was 14.
and ancient relics that seemed completely out of place in North America. According to Burroughs, this was no ordinary cave. He described a labyrinth-like series of tunnels that went deep into the limestone hills, a place so vast that he supposedly explored only a fraction of it. The walls, he claimed, were covered in inscriptions, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Phoenician letters, and even Latin phrases. The artifacts he said he found there included carved tablets depicting warriors, kings, and gods that seemed to belong to civilizations separated by oceans and centuries. To him, it was proof of an ancient transatlantic civilization that had settled in the Midwest long before Columbus ever dreamed of crossing the Atlantic. It sounded unbelievable, and maybe that's why it caught so much attention. News of Burroughs Cave spread quietly at first through fringe archaeology circles, then exploded in the 1990s as photos and rubbings of the mysterious stones began to circulate. Many people wanted to believe that the cave was real, that the ancient world had left traces far beyond what mainstream history accepted. But there was a problem. No one else could ever seem to find it. Burroughs guarded the location fiercely, saying he was afraid the government or looters would destroy it. He claimed to have sealed the cave after retrieving artifacts, refusing to tell anyone its exact coordinates. That secrecy created the perfect storm. Endless speculation, divided opinions, and decades of mystery. Those who believed him argued that he was protecting something sacred. They pointed to the intricate carvings on the stones as evidence of a lost Mediterranean culture that reached America thousands of years ago. Some thought they saw images of Egyptian-style deities, crosses, or faces that looked distinctly African or Middle Eastern. Others said the artifacts hinted at a mixed culture, something that combined elements of Phoenician, Greek, and early Christian iconography. Critics, on the other hand, called it one of the greatest archaeological hoaxes of the 20th century. Archaeologists who examined the stones noted that the carvings lacked proper linguistic structure. The hieroglyphs didn't make sense. The Latin phrases were often misspelled or randomly assembled, and the patina, the thin natural layer that builds up over centuries, didn't match what would be expected from artifacts supposedly thousands of years old. Still, even with the growing criticism, Burroughs stood by his story until his death. He gave interviews, sold or traded hundreds of stones, and even worked with researchers who tried to document everything he claimed. But since the cave itself remained undiscovered, his claims could never be proven or completely disproven. Over time, the Burroughs Cave story became something larger than just an archaeological mystery. It turned into a reflection of human curiosity and our need to believe in something more. Some people saw it as a possible key to a forgotten chapter of pre-Columbian history. Others saw it as a cautionary tale about the dangers of wishful thinking. If you visit the Olney area today, you won't find any signs pointing to a cave or any historical markers acknowledging its existence. There's no public site to explore, no museum exhibit showing the artifacts. The location remains unknown, hidden somewhere beneath layers of rumor and farmland, yet the legend lingers. Locals still talk about it, some skeptically, others with quiet fascination. A few private collectors claim to own genuine Burroughs cave stones. They describe them as smooth, palm-sized pieces of slate, each etched with faces, animals, or symbols. Many are crude, but some are surprisingly detailed, as if carved by someone with real artistic training. Whether these were made by ancient hands or modern ones is impossible to say for sure, but for believers, each stone is a fragment of a story too important to dismiss. Interestingly, this isn't the only time such mysterious out-of-place artifacts have surfaced in the Midwest. Similar stones, sometimes called the Illinois tablets, have been discovered in other parts of the state over the last century. Most were dismissed as forgeries, but to some, they add fuel to the idea that ancient travelers may indeed have reached the Mississippi Valley long ago. Archaeologists point out that the region was home to one of North America's most advanced ancient cities, Cahokia, located just across the state in Collinsville. Cahokia's massive earthen mounds and complex trade networks show that sophisticated...
Lloyd, let's talk about this. I never thought about that. But if you don't think the Native Americans were the only ones here, then who else do you think was with them? You think Egyptian people were? Or do you think maybe Native Americans come from Egyptian people? That would make sense. Then, I mean, let's just look at the noses, right? Because you have Aztecs, they had more of a broad, flat nose, where then you had Egyptians had more of a pointy nose, right? And then then you come to the Native Americans and they have more of a pointy nose. Well, some of them, most of them, I guess. You got your Southern Indians as like Southwest Indians, I guess, that had more of the broader nose. But then again, you got to think that they came up from, I don't know where they came up from, but anyway, they had a different nose. I don't know that makes a difference, as into they came from a different bloodline or whatnot. I don't know. What are you sure about? You got me on a tangent for a second. That's something I really never thought about. Now I'm gonna be all trying to figure this one out. I don't know if there's really anything to figure out other than if maybe there was a possibility that other people were here. Which, I don't see why there wouldn't have been.
Cultures did exist here long before European contact, but mainstream historians say there's no evidence linking Cahokia or any indigenous civilization to the kind of artifacts Burroughs described. Still, the question remains, If the cave never existed, how did hundreds of similar stones appear? Were they all made by Burroughs himself? That would have been a monumental effort. Supporters argue he couldn't have carved so many so quickly. Skeptics counter that modern tools and molds could easily reproduce such pieces. Some even suggest that the artifacts might have been part of an elaborate con to sell fake relics to collectors hungry for mystery. The Burroughs Cave debate remains.
So, different cultures from different regions. And I agree, that's totally possible. But then that brings up the question, why would they go so far as to make up all the shit they've made up? I mean, if they made it up, to make us believe something else. Then again, there's a lot of shit like that, so that's not unbelievable. I don't know, man. I don't know. Is it not weird, though, that what you were taught in school as a child is not the same as what our children are being taught in school? Like, I don't know. Schools should teach trades, I think. My opinion.
Unresolved because the physical evidence, the cave itself, is missing. Without it, everything depends on second-hand accounts, photographs, and stones scattered among private owners. And with Burroughs gone, so are the precise details of the location. For some, that's part of what makes it haunting. Imagine a hidden cave system beneath the Illinois soil, filled with strange carvings that have never seen daylight in centuries. Whether real or invented, the image itself has power. It speaks to the deep human urge to uncover buried truths, to find something ancient and forgotten beneath our feet. Today, if you stand on one of the bluffs near Olney and look out over the landscape, it's easy to imagine how such a secret could remain hidden. The terrain is rugged in places, with wooded ravines and limestone.
See if I read this right. The lands in the Bible are not just in Africa, Middle East, but the entire world. See me like all the that's kind of, it's a little confusing, grade one. Not the land. That's true, Lloyd, but that's not what they teach you when they're teaching you what's in this history book. They don't tell you what you just said. They don't tell you that just because it's in the book doesn't mean it's accurate. That's not told to us growing up. What's told to us is what you read in this book is what happened. Be totally different if they leave that little part out right there. If they add that in there, then they wouldn't have people believing that it was true. And then finding out when they got older that it wasn't fucking true.
Cliffs.
And yes, it's true. I'm pissed off that I got lied to my whole life.
Small caves and sinkholes dot the area, many barely explored. It's not impossible that something unusual could lie concealed underground. But then again, maybe the real mystery isn't in the ground, it's in the story itself. How a single man's claim can ignite decades of fascination.
We definitely have a mind to think of, or to think with our own. And you're correct about that. But as a young mind growing up, why would you even think to question it? You know, because schools of all places are supposed to be, well, they should be safe places. Should be able to go, that should be a place you should be able to go to and not worry about, you know. That's what I'm saying. Why are they so worried about teaching history and all that? Why should they be teaching traits so that these kids can grow up and know something and not. I mean, yeah. As we get older, we figure out what we learned was a fucking lie. That doesn't change the fact that they taught us a fucking lie. It doesn't change the fact that they're still gonna push that lie. Right, we can. That's what I'm getting at. Is because we didn't question it, they took full advantage of feeding us full of bullshit. Now that we question it, they can't. Now they've taken certain things out of it.
How belief, doubt, and imagination can blend until the truth feels just out of reach. In the end, the Burroughs Cave mystery stands somewhere between legend and archaeology, between skepticism and wonder. Whether it was a hoax, a misunderstanding, or a hidden truth still waiting to be rediscovered, it continues to draw people in, and maybe that's the lasting power of it. Sometimes the most captivating mysteries aren't the ones we solve, they're the ones that never quite let us go. The rock art of Piney Creek Ravine. Tucked away in the dense woods of southern Illinois, just outside Chester, lies one of the state's most quietly powerful ancient sites, Piney Creek Ravine. It's a place you could hike past without realizing how extraordinary it is. On the surface, it looks like any other patch of forest in the Shawnee Hills. Creeks winding through sandstone cliffs, a canopy of oak and hickory, birds echoing in the distance. But hidden along one of the canyon walls, faint and almost blending into the rock itself, are some of the oldest known images ever carved in Illinois, mysterious petroglyphs left by ancient hands. This spot, now known as the Piney Creek Ravine State Natural Area, feels like walking through a time capsule. The petroglyphs carvings pecked into the stone surface are believed to date back hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 years. Archaeologists think they were made during the late Woodland or Mississippian periods, somewhere between 400 and 1,000 years ago. That means the people who carved them were here long before European settlers, and possibly before the great city of Cahokia reached its peak. The images themselves are both simple and strange. Some are recognizable, figures that look like humans, deer, birds, and snakes. Others are harder to interpret. Geometric shapes, circles, crosses, and abstract forms that seem to have some kind of symbolic meaning we can't quite decipher. One of the most haunting images shows a large human-like figure with outstretched arms, almost resembling a shaman or spiritual being. Another shows what looks like a long serpent twisting across the rock, its body coiling toward a small cluster of shapes that could represent the sun or stars. Standing in front of the panel, you can feel that whoever made these carvings wasn't doing it for decoration. These weren't random doodles. They were messages, maybe prayers, stories, or warnings, maybe maps of the spirit world, or records of seasonal changes. The truth is, no one knows for sure, but the effort it took to make them, chipping each line into the sandstone using stone tools, suggests they held deep meaning for the people who created them. Over time, archaeologists have identified around 150 individual carvings across several panels in the ravine, making Piney Creek one of the largest rock art sites in Illinois. Many of them are faint now, worn down by centuries of rain and wind, but they're still there if you know where to look. The site is protected, and access to the main petroglyph panel is limited to preserve it. But the surrounding trails give a sense of the land's sacred quiet. The location itself seems intentional. The carvings are found in a secluded part of the ravine, hidden from easy view and near a natural water source. That combination, rock, water, and isolation, is often linked to sacred spaces in ancient Native American traditions. Across North America, petroglyphs and pictographs tend to appear in similar places where the natural world seems to carry a special presence. It's easy to imagine ancient people gathering here for ceremonies, using the sounds of running water and the echo of the cliffs as part of their ritual experience. Some of the symbols at Piney Creek resemble those found at other sites across the Midwest, hinting that the artists may have been part of a larger cultural network. The spiral shapes and cross forms, for instance, show up in rock art from Missouri, Kentucky, and even as far south as Tennessee. This suggests a shared symbolic language, one that may have been passed through generations or carried by traveling groups who shared common beliefs about the land and the cosmos. Researchers who've studied the site have also noticed how the carvings interact with sunlight. At certain times of year, the morning sun strikes the rock face in a way that highlights specific figures while leaving others in shadow. That's led some to wonder if the petroglyphs were aligned to track solstices or equinoxes. If true, it would mean the site wasn't just spiritual, it was astronomical, a calendar carved in stone. Of course, interpretations vary. Some scholars see Piney Creek as a ceremonial place used by shamans or healers. Others think it might have marked a boundary between tribal territories or a point along a seasonal migration route. A few even suggest the carvings were meant to connect with the spirits of ancestors, each figure a kind of offering to the unseen world. Whatever the purpose, what's undeniable is the emotional effect the place still has today. People who visit often describe a quiet, almost reverent feeling as they stand near the carvings. There's no noise except the creak and the wind, no signs or fences telling you what to think. You just stand there looking at those faint lines in the stone, realizing they were made by someone who lived here 1,000 years ago and wanted to leave something behind that would last. Sadly, the site has also faced its share of problems. In the mid-20th century, before it was fully protected, parts of the rock art were damaged by graffiti and erosion. Some carvings were chipped away by people hoping to take pieces as souvenirs. Others were worn down by repeated tracing and photography. It wasn't until the 1970s and 1980s that Piney Creek began to receive proper archaeological attention and conservation efforts. Now it's carefully monitored by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and most visitors are encouraged to view from a distance. That protection has helped preserve what remains, but it's also turned Piney Creek into a kind of hidden shrine for those who love ancient history. To reach it, you have to hike along narrow, uneven trails, crossing streams and sandstone ledges. When you finally arrive, the petroglyph wall doesn't immediately stand out. It blends into the rock until your eyes adjust. Then slowly, the figures begin to appear. One here, another there, lines becoming faces, symbols coming to life. It's almost like the rock decides when to show them to you. For many who visit, that moment feels deeply personal. You can't help but wonder about the people who carved these shapes. What did they see when they looked at this cliff? Did they believe the rock itself was alive? Were these carvings a form of prayer, a dialogue with the land? Modern descendants of the region's native tribes, like the Shawnee, Miami, and Illini, see places like Piney Creek as part of a broader spiritual landscape where the natural world and the human spirit were never separate. The carvings, in that sense, might not be meant for us at all. They could be messages intended for the land itself, or for beings that once watched over it. Today, Piney Creek remains one of the most mysterious and atmospheric places in Illinois. It's not grand like Cahokia or famous like Burroughs Cave, but it carries an intimacy that those sites can't match. It's art made by touch, carved into stone by people who wanted to leave a trace of their existence long after they were gone. If you ever stand there in the quiet, looking at those faint lines glimmering in filtered sunlight, you might realize something simple but profound: mystery isn't always about what we can't explain. Sometimes it's about what we can still feel, even when the meaning is lost. Piney Creek Ravine reminds us that the past doesn't have to shout. Sometimes it whispers from the rock itself. The Lost Mines of the Shawnee Hills. In the deep forested ridges of southern Illinois, where the Shawnee Hills rise between the Mississippi and Ohio rivers, stories of hidden treasure have been told for generations. Locals still talk about it on quiet nights, the Lost Mines of the Shawnee Hills. It's a legend that mixes truth, folklore, and a touch of greed, centered on the idea that somewhere in those winding hills lies a forgotten source of silver or gold, once worked by mysterious hands and sealed away forever. To understand the legend, you have to picture the region itself. The Shawnee Hills are ancient, made of sandstone cliffs and thick forests that seem to swallow up sound. Streams cut through deep hollows, and limestone caves hide under the hillsides. It's easy to get lost here, even with a map. Early settlers called it both beautiful and treacherous, a land full of promise but also secrets. The stories of lost mines go back to the early 1700s, when French explorers and traders moved through what was then the Illinois country. They had heard rumors from local tribes about places where the earth bled silver. Some accounts claim the French discovered these veins and began mining small amounts of ore, smelting it near the Mississippi River. Others say it wasn't the French at all, but the Spanish, who came north from their outposts and worked the mines in secret before abandoning them when native resistance grew too strong. One of the most enduring tales is that of the Old Shawnee Silver Mine. According to the story, a Frenchman named Philippe Renaud, who led a mining expedition through the region around 1720, stumbled upon a rich vein of silver somewhere near what is now Hardin County. Renaud supposedly used enslaved labor to extract ore from the hillside, hiding the operation from rival powers. When war and unrest swept through the frontier, he's said to have sealed the mine and fled back to Kaskaskia, leaving behind barrels of unrefined silver hidden in a cave. No one ever found them, or if they did, they never talked. Over the next century, Pioneers and frontiersmen continued to claim sightings of strange workings deep in the hills. Some described tunnels lined with timber supports, rusted picks, and smelter pits filled with slag. Others claimed to have seen carved crosses or Spanish symbols near rock outcrops, like markers pointing the way. The stories varied with each telling. Some said the mines held gold, others silver, and a few even whispered of ancient copper. Yet they all agreed on one thing: something valuable once came out of those hills. As the decades passed, the legend of the lost mines became part of the folklore that defined southern Illinois. Prospectors arrived in the 1800s, digging holes, blasting rock, and panning the creeks for trace metals. They found minerals, yes, iron, lead, even a little zinc, but never the fabled treasure. Still, the rumors refused to die. Every few years, someone new would swear they'd found the entrance to Renault's mine, or stumbled upon old tools buried in the dirt. Some claimed to have maps handed down through families, with cryptic symbols marking a hidden valley or ridge. There's one particular area near Garden of the Gods that many treasure hunters point to. The massive sandstone formations there, shaped by time into pillars and cliffs, look almost otherworldly. Hidden between them are countless caves and fissures, perfect places to hide something. In the 1930s, several expeditions were organized to search the area using those old maps, but none came back with anything more than interesting rocks and tall tales. Another version of the story ties the mines to the Shawnee people themselves. Some say the native tribes who lived in the region long before European contact already knew of these deposits and used them to craft ornaments or trade goods. A few legends describe how they hid or destroyed the mines to keep colonizers from exploiting them. The story usually ends with a warning: anyone who digs where they shouldn't will meet misfortune, and plenty of people claim they have. Local lore is filled with ghostly twists: miners who vanished without a trace, strange lights seen flickering in the woods at night, and caves that seem to breathe as if something alive is inside. There's even talk of a guardian spirit, sometimes described as a tall man in old frontier clothes, who appears just as treasure hunters are about to make a discovery. They always flee in fear, and when they return, the cave they found is gone, buried by a landslide, or covered by a sudden flood. Skeptics say it's all fantasy, a patchwork of stories created from bits of history and wishful thinking, and they're probably right, at least in part. The geology of the Shawnee Hills doesn't really support large veins of silver or gold. It's mostly sandstone and limestone, materials that don't typically host precious metals. But the region does contain deposits of iron and lead, which could explain how the legends began. Early explorers might have mistaken these for something more valuable, and over time, the stories simply grew. Still, even with the scientific explanations, the mystery holds. There's something about these hills that makes people believe. The terrain itself seems to encourage secrets: dense forests, endless ridges, and caves that twist beyond the reach of light. It's easy to imagine that deep inside one of them lies a sealed chamber, untouched since the 1700s. Modern treasure hunters have tried everything from metal detectors to ground-penetrating radar, but no confirmed site has ever been uncovered. A few have claimed success, usually pointing to old smelter slag or carved stones, but none have produced evidence strong enough to convince historians. That hasn't stopped the search. Even today, online forums and local groups swap coordinates, compare maps, and hike deep into the Shawnee National Forest chasing the legend. But there's also a quieter side to the story. Some believe the lost mines aren't about treasure at all. They think the legends were symbolic, warnings or moral tales about greed and the land's sacredness. The Shawnee Hills have always been seen as a place of power, rich in natural beauty and ancient presence. To dig into that, some say, was to disturb something that shouldn't be disturbed. In that sense, the missing silver isn't what matters, the lesson does. If you visit the area today, you'll find the Shawnee Hills just as mysterious as ever. The trails at Garden of the Gods, Rim Rock, and Bellsmith Springs wind through rock shelters and cliffs that feel older than time. It's not hard to imagine someone centuries ago lighting a torch, stepping into the darkness, and carving a hidden passage into the stone. Whether that ever truly happened or not, the story leaves a mark on the imagination. Standing at the edge of a ridge at sunset, looking over the endless forest, you can feel why people keep searching. There's something in the air here, something half dream, half memory. Maybe the treasure was never meant to be found. Maybe the real value lies in the mystery itself, in the way it connects us to the hopes and fears of the people who came before. The lost mines of the Shawnee Hills may never be uncovered, but their legend remains deeply buried in the heart of Illinois. Every story told around a campfire, every hiker who swears they heard a whisper from the woods, keeps that mystery alive, and perhaps that's all it was ever meant to do: remind us that some secrets are better left hidden, glittering just out of reach beneath the roots of an ancient forest. The stone forts of southern Illinois. If you drive through the southern tip of Illinois, weaving between the ridges and forests of the Shawnee National Forest, you might come across something strange, hidden in the trees. Massive stone walls, weathered and silent, built by hands no one can identify. These are the mysterious stone forts of southern Illinois, ancient structures that seem to have no clear purpose, no known builders, and no recorded history explaining how or why they were made. Local hikers often stumble across them without realizing their age. They look like the remains of old fortifications, piles of limestone arranged in long, curved walls across high ridges. In some places, the rocks stretch for hundreds of feet, forming semicircular enclosures that overlook valleys or rivers below. They've been called forts for over a century, though no one can say with confidence who built them, or even if they were really meant for defense. Archaeologists have identified at least a dozen of these sites across southern Illinois, with some of the best-known examples located at places like Millstone Bluff, Giant City State Park, and Stone Fort Hill near Maconda. Each site is slightly different, but they share the same mysterious layout: walls built along narrow ridgelines, usually with a single gap or gate leading inside. There's no sign of houses, pottery, or weapons within the enclosures, just stone piled with surprising precision and effort. So who built them? The first written mentions date back to the early 1800s, when European settlers exploring the region discovered these strange walls and assumed they were remnants of ancient forts. Some even believed they were built by early native tribes as lookouts against enemies. Others thought they were remnants of a forgotten race, part of the same mound builder myths that circulated before archaeologists fully understood the history of North America. By the late 19th century, scholars began studying them more closely. They discovered that most of the stone forts sit on naturally defensible high ground, suggesting they might have been used for protection or ceremony. But the real puzzle is their age. Radiocarbon tests from nearby sites and artifacts found in similar layers suggest the forts could date back as far as 400–500 BCE, around the time of the early woodland period, when mound-building cultures were just beginning to emerge in the Ohio and Mississippi valleys. That means whoever built them lived long before Cahokia rose to power, long before written records, and long before modern tribal names were known. Some archaeologists think these enclosures may have been built by ancestral groups of the Native American tribes that later inhabited the region, perhaps used for temporary defense or ritual gatherings. But others aren't convinced they were forts at all. If you stand at Giant City's stone fort, you'll notice how the wall curves gracefully across the ridge, following the natural contour of the land. It doesn't enclose a large space, just enough for a small group to stand within. There are no signs of extended occupation. No fire pits, no bones, no storage areas. It almost feels symbolic, like it marked a sacred boundary rather than a defensive position. Some researchers believe these sites could have been ceremonial centers or seasonal gathering places where ancient people met for trade, rituals, or observances of the stars. A few even suggest they might align with celestial events, much like the mounds and earthworks farther south. The elevated ridges would have provided clear views of the horizon, making them ideal for watching the sunrise or tracking solstices. That idea adds another layer to their mystery. Were the stone forts actually temples in disguise, places where ancient people connected with the sky and the land? Of course, there's another possibility, that they served multiple purposes over time. Early builders may have used them for spiritual reasons, while later groups reused them as strongholds or lookout points. Ancient sites often evolve like that, adapting with each generation that rediscovers them. Legends around these stone forts have always been strong in southern Illinois. Some locals tell stories of hidden tunnels beneath them, leading deep into the bluffs. Others speak of strange lights seen flickering around the walls at night, or whispers that echo in the trees. A few believe the structures are connected to ancient mound-building cultures, and may have once formed part of a broader sacred landscape stretching all the way to the Ohio River. One site that often captures imaginations is Millstone Bluff, located near Simpson. Unlike the others, this ridgetop site contains both a stone enclosure and evidence of later Native American occupation. Petroglyphs, carvings of human figures, animals, and symbols can still be seen etched into the rock surface. Standing there, surrounded by forest and silence, you get a sense of how layered the past truly is. You can almost feel the weight of generations who came and went, each leaving their mark on the same stones. Modern archaeology has tried to bring order to the mystery, but the forts resist easy answers. Excavations have revealed little beyond the stones themselves. There are no inscriptions or clear indicators of what rituals might have taken place. The effort it would have taken to haul and arrange thousands of pounds of rock suggests a purpose that went beyond simple utility. Whatever these structures meant, they mattered deeply to the people who built them. Today, most of the known stone forts are protected within parks or forest reserves. You can hike to many of them, though the trails are often rugged. At Giant City, the main wall stands quietly among the trees, moss-covered and half-collapsed in places, but still impressive. It doesn't take much imagination to picture how it looked when it was first built, newly stacked stone glinting in the sunlight, the view stretching endlessly over the valley below. Visiting one in person feels both grounding and unsettling. There's no plaque to explain exactly what you're looking at. No certainty, just speculation. You can stand there for a long time, trying to piece together the story from the silence. The forest around you hums softly, the air feels heavy with age, and you start to understand why these places inspire so many theories. Some locals believe the forts were part of a defensive network, built to protect a vanished people from enemies who never made it into written history. Others think they're remnants of a ceremonial complex that connected ancient tribes across vast distances. A few modern theorists even link them to more far-fetched ideas: Atlantean travelers, old world explorers, or remnants of an advanced prehistoric civilization. None of that can be proven. But the sense of mystery is real. It lingers in the air, in the texture of the stones, in the way the walls still hold their shape after thousands of years. Whether the forts were strongholds, temples, or territorial markers, they remind us that ancient Illinois was far more complex and connected than most people realize. If you visit today, the forts don't look like much at first glance, just piles of rock on a hill. But if you stand still and listen, you might feel the same thing early settlers did when they found them. A quiet awareness that this land has secrets, and some of them are still hiding in plain sight. The Cave and Rock Legends and Hidden Treasure Tales. Perched high above the Ohio River on the rugged bluffs of southern Illinois is one of the state's most dramatic and mysterious places, Cave and Rock. This natural landmark, carved into solid limestone, has been a witness to centuries of history, legend, and lawlessness. At first glance, it's a stunning geological wonder, a yawning cavern, about 55 feet wide, opening like a dark mouth into the cliffside. But to those who know its past, it's far more than a pretty sight. It's a place where countless stories of pirates, bandits, and buried treasure have taken root, and where the line between history and folklore has long since blurred. The story of Cave and Rock begins with nature itself. Over thousands of years, the Ohio River slowly ate away at the limestone, creating this hollow space on the Illinois side of the border. Indigenous peoples were the first to discover and use it, perhaps as a temporary shelter or lookout point. Later, early European explorers and traders marked it on their maps as a navigational point. But by the late 1700s, as flatboats and keelboats began drifting down the river toward the Mississippi, Cave and Rock gained a darker reputation. This was the frontier, wild, lawless, and unpredictable. The Ohio River was the main highway of commerce, but also a corridor of danger. Bandits and con men soon realized that this cave made the perfect hideout. From its high vantage point, they could spot incoming boats, lie in wait, and ambush unsuspecting travelers. It was remote enough to vanish into, yet close enough to the river to launch quick attacks. The first group linked to the cave was a gang known as the Mason Gang, led by the ruthless Samuel Mason. Mason had once been a Revolutionary War soldier, but after deserting, he turned to robbery and murder. His band of outlaws, along with river pirates and counterfeiters, used Cave and Rock as their den in the late 1790s. They'd wave down riverboats pretending to offer food or trade, then rob and sometimes kill the crew. Victims' bodies were said to be dumped into the Ohio River below. Some tales even describe makeshift gallows set up inside the cave for those who resisted. When Mason's gang was finally broken up, others filled the void. Among the most famous were the Harpe brothers, two of America's first known serial killers. In the late 1790s, Big and Little Harpe terrorized the frontier, killing travelers for sport and hiding their loot in the cave. According to legend, they used the cave not just as a hideout, but as a gruesome base of operations. One story claims they even displayed a decapitated head at the cave entrance as a warning. The Harpes were eventually hunted down, but their legend left an indelible mark on the place. As decades passed, Cave and Rock continued to draw outlaws and adventurers. By the early 1800s, counterfeiters, smugglers, and river pirates all took turns claiming it. Stories spread of gold and silver hidden in the nearby hills, treasure buried in the cave floor, and secret tunnels leading from the cavern to the riverbank below. Locals whispered about strange lights seen near the cave at night. Some believed they were ghostly lanterns of long-dead thieves, still searching for their lost loot. Not all the tales were dark, some were just strange. There are accounts of travelers who claim to hear voices echoing from deep within the cave, or of seeing shadowy figures on moonlit nights that vanished when approached. Others reported finding crude carvings on the walls, initials, symbols, even what appeared to be maps scratched into the limestone. Whether these were the marks of early visitors, treasure hunters, or the bandits themselves, no one really knows. By the 1820s, river traffic had changed, and law enforcement grew stronger along the frontier. The days of river piracy were ending. Cave in Rock became less a criminal den and more a curiosity, a stop for travelers who'd heard of its notorious past. Writers and journalists visited, spreading its legend farther. Eventually, in 1929, the land around the cave was turned into Cave in Rock State Park, preserving both the natural formation and its eerie history. Visiting the site today, you can still feel that atmosphere. The cave sits at the base of a high cliff, facing the slow-moving Ohio River. A winding trail leads down from the park above, and as you step inside, the temperature drops sharply. The sound of the river fades, replaced by the echo of your own footsteps. Sunlight filters through the entrance, painting the limestone walls in soft gold. It's quiet now, peaceful, even, but you can't help feeling the weight of everything that's happened here. Some say that if you visit at dusk when the last light hits the river, you might hear faint whispers carried by the wind. Locals still talk about ghostly figures near the entrance, or lights flickering deep inside the cavern. Treasure hunters occasionally show up with metal detectors, convinced that somewhere within those dark walls lies a stash of Mason's stolen gold. None have found it, at least not publicly, but that hasn't stopped the search. Cave in Rock remains one of Illinois' most intriguing mysteries, where history and folklore collide. It's a place that reminds you how thin the boundary is between myth and memory. Standing inside, you can almost picture those old flatboats drifting past, their lanterns bobbing on the water. You can imagine the outlaws lurking in the shadows, waiting for their next victim. And as you step back into the light, you realize that this cave, carved by nature and haunted by history, has outlasted them all. Today, it's a place for hikers, campers, and history lovers. Families picnic on the bluffs where pirates once watched for boats. Children explore the dark recesses where treasure hunters once dug. Yet even now, no one knows what truly lies beneath the surface. What relics, what secrets, or what stories remain hidden in the stone. Cave in Rock's legends endure because they tap into something timeless. Our fascination with hidden treasure, danger, and the shadows of the past. Maybe there's no gold left to find, and maybe the ghosts are only echoes of our imagination, but the feeling of mystery remains. Standing there facing that dark mouth of stone, it's easy to believe that somewhere deep inside, the past is still watching.
Alright, guys. I'm gonna get up out of here. Play a song, I guess. Maybe. Never heard of what? Lloyd? Never heard of that video? I don't know, just something random. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna play this song and I'm gonna get up out of here.
Yeah, welcome to future. Still living in the past, future.
2026, but you're stuck inside a loop, trying to get your vintage fix. Got the Prince vibe on the speakers, but you're quiet as a mouse. You're a social media ghost in a real life house. You're offended by a shadow, you're triggered by the bass. I'm a monster in the booth, you're a waste of fucking space. 1-star review on a party, you're a joke. 2026 and you're still blowing smoke. The world is on its knees, we're dancing in the fire, but you're just another liar on a digital wire. Wake the hell up! We're trying to party like it's 1999, but it's 2026 and you're wasting my time. Stop acting like a bitch, get your head out the ditch. The world is gonna end, but you're worried about a glitch. I'm the king of the scene, you're the king of the night. In 2026, why you acting like a bitch? Look at me, tell me what you see, I'm a living or see, let it breathe. You want the aesthetic, you want the word, you're waiting the thing. You left from that fight, fuck right, you take one, don't go, let's go. Let's go, dancing like a bitch. We're trying to party like it's 1999, but it's 2026 and you're wasting my time. Stop acting like a bitch, get your head out the ditch. The world is gonna end, but you're worried about a glitch. 1999, 2026. Yeah, just a bitch.
It's time for a break. Forget this car. Stone Panda is headed to the Redneck Rave.